So we plug in x equals 4 and y equals 1/2. When you multiply 1/2 by 2, you get 1. So it's 4 minus 1 times 4 plus 1, which is 3 times 5, which is 15. Tyrone wants to score an 80% or better on today's 40-point biology test. What is the least number of points that Tyrone must score to achieve an 80%? Okay? So it's 80% of 40. That's how many points it is, right? When you see the word of, what is the operation? Multiplication. So, and when you have percents, what do you have to do before you use that number?
100 over 2 to the left.
Change it to a decimal. So it's 0.8 times 40, which is 32. Now, one of you asked, what's the box method? You could do FOIL or box method. I FOIL, but I can do both for you. So if you do 2x times 3x, that's 6x squared. 2x minus 4 times minus 4 is minus 8x. Minus 3 times 3x is minus 9x. And minus 3 times minus 4 is 12. And then you clean up the middle two that can be combined. So it's 6x squared minus 17x plus 12, which is on number D, right? If you do the box method, you have a 2 by 2, so you just do a 2 by 2 box. You put 2x and a minus 3 and 2x and a minus 4.
3x.
Yep, sorry. And 2x times 3x is still 6x squared. You still have to know that. And 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. 2x times negative 4 is negative 8x. And then minus 3 times minus 4 is positive 12. Then you add those two together, you still get the same thing. Let's say you are not good at, that's a nice way to put it, you are not good at foiling. But there's only one letter in this one. Everybody go to your y equals screen and put the original problem in there. You can only do this if there's one letter. The number 1, you can't do it because there's x's and y's. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Put that in the first y equals screen. If you're good at keying, this is the way to do it. If you are not good at foiling. So, everybody on the second y equals screen, the first choice is x squared. Everybody put an x squared on there. We're not going to do all of these, but go ahead and put an x squared on there.
And y2.
In the second y equals, yes. And then you're going to go to second graph, and you're going to see a graph that looks like a table that looks like this. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If these two columns are the same, that is the correct answer. Are those two columns the same? Second graph.
Okay.
No.
Then that's not the answer. Cross it off.
What's
Now,
not the answer?
x squared.
Ah.
Now go to D. Key in the answer in D, which is the answer. And you're going to see the two y columns are the same, and then I'll explain. You go to a second graph after putting in the choice, the actual choice, 6x squared minus 17x plus 12, you get the two same y columns. So that means that is the choice. You want to find what equation is equal to the other equation. If the equations are equal, the y columns are going to be the same, because they're the same equation written in a different way. Does everybody understand that? So there's a trick. The only thing wrong with that trick is that if your answer is E, you have to go through 4 different things. You have to key in 4 different things before you get to the right answer. So it takes you a little longer to do that, but if you're really not good at foiling, do it. So if probability of success is over total, then think about 2 in 9 probability is that you have a jar of 9 marbles, and 2 of them are the color you're looking for, okay? So they want to know what the probability is that the event isn't going to happen. Well, if there's 2 that meet your requirements, how many don't meet your requirements out of 7? So it's 7 over 9 is the probability of it not happening. The basement of a probability is always the total you're picking from. That's not going to change. What's going to change is what is a success. If I don't want blue, a success is any other color but blue. If I do want blue, there's 2 of them in the jar. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
The first one is a basic proportion. A recipe for 150 servings requires 4.5 liters of sauce. Now they give you liters because most people in this country does not talk about liters, right? They're just trying to see if you're going to just lose hope just because they gave you some stuff they didn't want. So you've got servings and liters. 150 servings goes with 4.5 liters. This is a basic proportion. How many liters, that means the X goes under the L, everybody see that? Are required for 80 servings. The 80 goes here. And this is just basic cross multiplication. So you get 150 X equals whatever that is.
360.
360. Divide by 150 on both sides. And you get 2.4. Who read it? Pei bought a 36-inch long candle. It burns at a steady rate of 0.48 inches every hour. Which of the following is a relationship between the length in inches of the candle and the time T in hours the candle has burned? This is where you get yourself inside the problem. Can you see the candle on the table?
No.
Yes.
Look
Yes.
and see it. What happens when you burn a candle?
It shrinks.
It gets smaller. So you know you're going to be taking off height, right? What takes away? What operation takes away? A minus.
Subtraction.
So you know it's going to have a minus in there. What's your choice?
I thought you were Gabby.
The first one.
F.
F. You start with 36 inches, and every single hour it's going to lose almost a half an inch of length when it burns, okay? So you put yourself in the problem. The number in a linear equation is the beginning value. It's the value it started at. The number next to the variable is the slope or the rate of change. It's how much it changes every minute, hour, second, over time, okay? So the answer is F. So here you would just do 36 is what you start with, minus 0.48 times how many hours are, and they put hours in terms of T, so it would be F. Number 7 is the easiest problem on this page, but you are going to make a silly mistake if you don't really pay attention. What are the angles in a triangle add up to?
180.
180. You know that, right? This guy here is 70. That means when you take 70 away from 180, you have 110 left to spend, right?
Divide.
Well, 110, look at it, sitting there waiting for you. So when you see that, you go, oh, that must be the answer because I just got 110. Analyze the question. The question is, how much is one of those two? It also tells you that this side here is equal to that side there. Therefore, it's an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangles have two equal sides and two equal angles. So this guy here is equal to this guy here. So we take 110 and divide by 2, and we get 55 degrees. And that is the answer. If they had given me the same triangle, and they said this is 70, but in this case, these two sides are equal. Look at the board. Look at the board. These two sides are equal. Then we know that this angle here is also 70. And then this guy has to be 40 because it's 140 plus 40. You understand? So whenever the two sides are equal, you kind of turn that triangle up to where it's on the floor. The two that are on the floor are going to be equal also. Does everybody see that? Mm-hmm. Now, number 8 is a problem I have every April when I mulch my yard. Okay?
Wait, what?
Number 8 is a problem I have every April when I mulch my yard. Okay? I have to figure out how much mulch to buy. I have a Mini Cooper. I can actually put 15 bags of mulch in the car, but it's not good for the car. So I try not to put more than 10. I live 2.3 miles from Home Depot, so I have to go back and forth 3 or 4 times, and I don't want to overbuy. Okay?
Just call me and I got
You
my
got-
mom's
yeah.
got a minivan, so
So I do the math so I know exactly how many bags I need. All right? This year I got lazy and I just eyeballed it.
ooh.
And I might not have enough. I might have to go back and get some more. I didn't buy too much, but I may have not bought enough. So I have to do still the back. I've already done the front. I need to do the back. Oh, I'm going to read it. You have 4 rectangular regions that you want to cover with cedar chips. One is 2 by 8. So I'm going to just draw my 2 by 8. One is 1 by 4. And they don't have to be to scale. 2 by 20. Everybody see what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. And 1 by 5. If a bag of cedar chips covers 10 square feet, how many bags do I need? All right, so we got 16, we got 4, we got 40, and we have 5. Everybody understand where I got those numbers, the area of those squares or rectangles? Mm-hmm. So that's 20, 65. When I divide 65 square feet by 10, I get 6.5 bags. So how many bags do I need?
7.
You got to go to 7. And then you can do what Austin says and spread the half bag over a couple.
Or eat there.
No, I wouldn't eat it. They're probably
was
treated.
random.
So paint, mulch, stuff like that. They don't let you buy a quarter of a gallon. So if you go over a gallon, you don't round, you go to the next gallon. You have to buy the next one. Now at Home Depot, you can get a gallon of paint or a pint. So you might go just to a pint if you know how to do the math. But over buying stuff, Miss Brown did the woodworking, and there was a little can of paint that was left over from a project I did, and it's this much. I mean, you can't eyeball it exactly, but I got rid of I just said you can have it for your projects, okay? Domain and range. When you have a point, X and Y, who's the domain?
X.
Who's the range?
Why?
So this one, everybody should get it right. If the domain on the first 3 points is 2, 4, 6, the domain on the second one is the X values. So it's the list of X values, 0, 2, 3. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
That's not a hard one, but it's written in a way that you're not used to seeing. So you might say, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that. Okay, this next one is about P and Q statements. If you come to ACT prep, you will score higher. If you scored higher, it's because you came to ACT prep. That's a converse of the first one where you just switch the two. I think everybody got that one right. It's F. If the store is open, then the lights are on, okay? Some things you cannot do conversely, and some things you can. Number 11, you are reflecting onto the y-axis. And this is how I do it to make sure I don't screw up, is I draw the point, and the point was right here, AB, but I gave it a value. I said it was like 3, 1. Everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't, you can be anything you want. And I want to reflect it over the y-axis, which is this guy right here. So it's going to be negative 3, 1. It's going to be the same distance on the left. So you have to go over the same amount, but in the other direction, and then you still have to go up 1 to reflect it. The only different question is because they could say you reflected on the x-axis, and you need to put it down here. And this would be 3, negative 1. So what did I do if it's negative 3, 1? I changed the sign of the first number. So it's negative AB. It's the opposite of whatever A was and B. Everybody understand that? Mm-hmm. But I draw it out. I put some stuff on here to make sure I wasn't screwing up. So that's number 11. Number 12. Basic math here, you got 12x. Let me change color here. 12x equals negative 80 plus 8x. When I move this over here, I get 4x equals negative 80. Divide by 4, x is negative 20. So that's F. Easy?
Mm-hmm.
Leave the x alone. Now let's talk about this refrigerator. Your price is $414, but that includes a 15% profit. Stores buy things for one price, then they mark them up. They have to, otherwise they wouldn't make any money. They have to pay the guys that are selling, they have to pay for the building, they have to pay for the electric bill, so they have to mark things up. 15% markup is not a high markup. It's probably going to be more closer to 40 or 50. So the refrigerator is $414, and that came from a markup. How much are they marking it up?
15%.
15%. So if we take the price of the refrigerator that the store paid for it and multiply it by 1.15, we will get the 414.
Where do you get 1.15?
When you have a markup of 15%, you put a 1 in front of it and your new price. Okay, let's say I pay $100 for a skateboard and I'm selling it to you at a 10% markup. You take the $100 times 1.10 and you'll get the new price. You'll get the price, okay? So whenever you have sales tax, I use this all the time in Charlotte, is 0.0725. If I buy something, you multiply that something by 1.0725 and you get your price. Got it? You just learned something?
Yes.
So
All
you
right.
add 1 point.
You add the 1 to the thing. Because why? Whatever it costs, you're going to pay that amount plus another 15%. Well, the whole amount is 100%, which is the 1. And then the 15% is the markup, which is the 0.15. So when I just divide 414 by 1.15, it's just basic math at this point, I get $360. I think. Go. It says in the figure below, ABCD is a square. What does that tell you if it's a square?
It is equal.
All sides are equal. Log that in, circle the word square, and the side lengths are 10. So I'm going to put a 10 here, a 10 here, a 10 here, and a 10 up here. Then it says the midpoint of AB is E. That means that both of these are 5s because midpoint cuts it in half, right?
Yeah.
So they want me to tell them the area of the shaded region. There's 2 ways to get around this. I'm going to do it both ways. You tell me which way you like, and I'll put the formulas on the board. In the first way, it's the easiest way. You take the area of the whole thing. Remember my A whole minus A whole? Do you remember that at all?
I mean, I remember
A little bit, yeah.
It's the area of the whole thing minus the area of the hole in the thing. That'll give you the area of the shaded. Got it?
Yeah.
So the area of the whole thing is 100. That's easy, 10 by 10. And now the area of this thing that's not shaded, that's a right triangle with a 5 and a 10. So that's going to be 1/2 base times height, which is 25. So 100 minus 25 is 75. The other way to do it is the shape of that shaded region is what kind of a shape? Starts with a T. It's a trapezoid. The area of a trapezoid,
Did you
What-
say triangle?
the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. Now that's a little bit harder to remember, but I'm going to put that on the board too, so you have that as your formulas. So that's going to be 1/2. Base 1 is 5, base 2 is 10, times the height, which is 10. Well, 1/2 of 15 is 7.5 times 10, which is 75. Either way, you get 75. I asked you if you knew RF because you could actually do this on the calculator when you have a system of equations. When you have a system of equation that it's written in the way of X and then a Y and then an equal, then a number, an X and a Y and an equal and a number, you can put it in a matrix.
What is that, 2 by 3?
It's a 2 by 3, yes. So you put in your matrix, let's change the color, 1, 2, 12, 1, -1, 3. Got it?
2 by 3.
It's a 2 by 3. Go ahead and put that matrix in your computer, in your calculator. So when you do RF to it, you should get the matrix 106013, and then we'll talk about it. It's an X, Y, then the number. So this number here, the first number is going to be your X, the second number is going to be your Y, okay? So the answer is D. The other way to do it is to just do elimination. X plus 2y equals 12. X minus y equals 3. You want to eliminate something. The easiest way to eliminate is to change the signs of this second guy. And now the x's, when you add these two equations together, go away. So 2y plus 1y is 3y equals 9. So y equals 3. Then you plug that 3 back in to find x. You take it here and you plug it in for the y. You see that? So x plus 6 equals 12. X equals 6. So the answer is 6, 3. Everybody see that? Easy.
Yeah.
This one. What it means when you see g of something is you're going to plug in that value into the function g. So g of 3 would be 3 squared. Everybody see what I'm doing? I'm plugging the 3 in for x under the g. I cover up the f. Don't worry about the f right now.
Cover up the F.
And you go into the g, which is x squared, and you plug a 3 in. So when I plug in a 3 for x, it's 3 squared. So g of 3 equals 9. Everybody get that? And now what is f of 9? We plug in a 9 into the f, and that gives us 18. F of 9 equals 18. So the final answer is 18. Okay? So if I were to give you f of g of f of 1.
Oh, God.
Let's do that one. What is f of 1? No, put it into the f of x.
It's
What's 2 times 1?
2.
Now what is g of 2? Plug it into the g. Plug in a 2 into the g. 4. What is f of 4? 8. So that is equal to 8. Does everybody see that? On the first one, you multiply those numbers. You've got 5 appetizers, 4 main courses, and 5 desserts. You want to know how many meals of one of each you can get. And that would be 5 times 4 times 5, which is 100. So 5 times 4 times 5 equals 100. The next one, you just have to remember one rule. They will always test you on this rule. So I'm going to leave the m alone. So I'm going to move this m over here. So this would be a negative m when you have 1m minus 2m. And then I'm going to move this 5 over here. Minus 5 to go over is a plus 5. So there's going to be a 1 there, right? But the m is not alone. It's got a negative 1 hanging on it. Negative m. Everybody get that?
Yep.
So we have to divide by negative 1. When you divide by a negative number, what happens?
Switch the sign.
So it's going to be m is greater than or equal to negative 1. Make sure you remember to switch the sign. You're going to get tested on that, so do it. I would change everything to decimals. So 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. 0.28 is 0.28. 2/5 is 0.4, I believe. 3/8 is 0.375. Then you got 0.37 and 0.3. Everybody get that?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to put it in least to biggest. The thing they want to mess you up on is this one and a couple of the other ones. So the smallest here is 0.28. The next one is 0.3 plain. The next one is 0.3 repeating. The next one is 0.37. 0.375 is slightly bigger than 0.37. And then 0.4. Got it?
Yeah.
So then you translate it back and you put 0.3 is 3/10. And 0.3 repeating is 1/3. 0.37 is 0.37, and then 3/8 and 2/5. So it's B. Everybody get that?
Mhm.
You've got a calculator. There's no for that one. This one, who does the -2 belong to?
The
Everything inside the parentheses. So we're going to give him to everything inside the parenthesis. When you do this, you have 3 to the -2 turns into 1/9. Who does not remember that negative exponents, if they're upstairs, they go downstairs. If they're downstairs, they go upstairs. And that's x to the -6 goes downstairs as x to the 6th. So it should be F, should be your answer.